Welcome everybody to my podcast, Big Little Small Talk. I'm Megan O'Hara-Sullivan and I love to talk, but I also love to listen. If you're new here, welcome. Thanks for joining me today. I hope you enjoy the episode. Welcome to Big Little Small Talk. My name's Megan O'Hara-Sullivan and I'm interviewing Lynn today. Now, Kat is a storyteller of the finest degree, I think. She's a photographer and she's got so many stories to tell, but I'm at an exhibition of hers down here at the Wright Gallery, and I want to welcome you, Kat, and say thank you for this exhibition that you have down here, because it's a story of 6 women and we're going to dive straight in, and we're surrounded by these beautiful photographs.
Thanks, Megan, for the opportunity to share their story. So it all came about because Carmel, I was doing a corporate branding session for Carmel Tulloch, and I've always seen her as my phoenix. She gets knocked down and she rises, and she's just stronger and stronger and more beautiful. And it's a trait that I hold dear to women, that I see that, that empowering, that growth, that grit. It's not about victimisation or why me, it's that power. And I think when women feel that, it's beautiful, that confidence that they feel. There's no more that self-doubt and the imposter syndrome. They're like, this is who I am, and which is lovely. It's beautiful to see. And I wanted more of the goosebumps that I got listening to Carmel's story. And scientifically, you get goosebumps 2 ways. You're either freezing cold or you're in awe of someone. So when you have those goosebump moments, listen to that, because obviously that means something to you. And I wanted more of that, so I was sort of being selfish, and I offered my studio to 5 free sessions to 5 women that could tell me a story that gave me all over body goosebumps. And so I had my 4, and Shelley was my first of my 5 that were coming in. And I remember it clearly, like her story, still to this day, whenever I'm reading through, I get to a point and it's just remarkable. Any mother will just gravitate and understand the rawness of her experience. But Shelley was looking at the photos as we were going through, and she just went quiet, and I had to look over and I asked her, was she okay? And she goes, Kat, I've told my story hundreds of times. I've never seen my story. So what you've done is a beautiful gift. What are you going to do with these? And I said to her, well, they're for you. That's my gift to you. I said, thank you for your story and sharing it, but this is what I'm giving to you. She goes, no, this needs to be shared. And I went, okay, what do you mean? Like an exhibition? And she goes, yeah. And that's where the exhibition idea came from. So it never was meant to be that. It was just meant to be my personal little project and my way of giving. And since that's happened, over 18 months, it's just been this beautiful organic journey where it's just grown. And for me personally, the journey has been in learning to listen, be even more curious, and accept that people want to be part of the bigger picture. I personally don't like to put anyone out or burden them, yet when you just tell people what you're doing, they just want to be part of it, and they're just offering, and it's beautiful to see the community come around and support and all that. So like ALE, I went and told him, ALE Clothing and Signs, I said to him, I want to do this. Do you think the businesses, what if they sponsor each lady? Maybe I could do it that way. And I told him the story, and he just went, I'll just do it for you, Kat. Like, that's huge.
Kat, can we back up a little bit? Because I know that you're very familiar with it, but I'm not overly familiar with the whole exhibition. So you're a photographer. You have Sunny and Kat Photography.
And Foodie Shots.
Shots. And I want to talk about Foodie Shots in a little bit, about the fascination of photographing food. It sounds incredible. But so you wanted to give back to women in this project, and how did you select the women? Did you know them already?
I knew 2 of, I did actually know 1, 2, 3, 4 of them, not really personally, except for Carmel. Jen I'd always supported through Emerge. So that's my connection there, and I just have been always in awe of her patience and ability to front up to such raw situations that I was consciously being ignorant.
So just tell the listeners what Jen Shaw and Emerge do.
Jen helps our youth at risk. She's the one that turns up when no one else does. She's the mother, what I say, it's my opinion, she's the mother to the children that are lost. So she's often the one that's seeing the highs and lows of society, you know. So I think that she's just a wonderful example of what's needed, you know.
So who else have we got? We've got Shelley Myatt, who you touched on before, and we've got Jen Shaw.
Yeah, Jen Shaw. We've got
Carmel Tulloch,
who is part of Catering People, and also a very passionate social enterprise.
Yeah. So while we're going through them, do you feel comfortable telling the ladies' stories to the listeners?
Yeah, a little bit. So Carmel, she was my first, as I said, corporate branding. Carmel came to me, she needed to reinvigorate her brand because it was COVID and it was terrible what it was doing to the hospitality industry, and she wanted to reinvigorate herself, so we needed to show her in her business, but also who is Carmel. So she's barefoot, jeans, you know, a bit of a yogi, but then you get her into a business situation and she's fierce. You know, she's very straightforward, she knows how to handle herself, she's had to be on boards, and that's pretty empowering, you know, from a female perspective. But she was also a cancer survivor, so she'd just gone through all that treatment. She had to go through and lose part of herself, but in doing so, I think she found another part of her, which I find quite interesting.
What does Carmel do in her spare time?
She actually helps run a hotel over in Cambodia, the Baby Elephant boutique, which is really important because it helps to employ women over there that are misfortunate and things like that. So it's really, everything that Carmel does is about cultural diversity. She's been a huge advocate for disability in the workforce. So yeah, very passionate about that.
Can I just ask, when you say the Baby Elephant Hotel, it's not called the Baby Elephant Hotel, it's actually a hotel for baby elephants?
No, it's called the Baby Elephant Hotel.
But there's no elephants really?
I don't think so.
I just wasn't sure. I thought it might be saving baby elephants or something like that as well.
Don't know. I'll have to ask her where the name originated, won't I?
Okay, yeah.
And hopefully I got that right for her, but yeah.
That's the essence of Carmel anyway. Yeah. So, yes, we've got, and who else have we got involved in the project?
Gaia Hold, who has been a volunteer, I think, all her life. She was also the first female firefighter in Queensland, and has always had to prove herself to, you know, a very male-dominated industry, and she did it. So she puts her mind to something and she'll do it. She was one of the youngest hairdresser in Stefan's to run a Stefan salon. You know, she's done Project Formal, which is always, you know, it's about giving dignity to those children or the young adults that want to graduate with the rest of their classmates.
So she gets donated formal dresses and suits, doesn't she? And people can come and they're theirs. They can take them and they're theirs. Yeah. And I think Gay does the hair aid where she cuts homeless people's hair, and I think the listeners, you can go back and have a look on the podcast for Gay's interview. That was a little while ago. And then she does hair aid, and she does another hair project as well, I think, doesn't she?
Well, she did used to own her own salon, but she doesn't own that anymore. She sold that, and now she helps manage the 400 odd volunteers at the hospital. So I think, she's found her calling. You know, once a volunteer, and she understands the actual plight of some of these people. So who better to help lead those volunteers as well? So I think that's beautiful. We have Chris Morris, who is a lady in her, I might get her age wrong, Chris will shoot me, but I think she's in her 60s, early 60s, and she actually launched her book on the night that we opened up the exhibition, and it's about her journey of coming out as being queer, and growing up in the 70s, and that in that era is quite. Some of the stories she was saying is quite shocking. You know, it's quite embarrassing to think that happened in Australia, but that's our history, and you know, we learn from those lessons. But it was the real turmoil for her to even sit in the studio and verbalise her story, something that she's had to put down quite deep, to put on a mask that society says she should act a certain way, dress a certain way, all these sort of things, you know, be married, have children, all those sort of things, when realistically she was playing a role that wasn't her. So for her to then go through that journey and actually verbalise was quite powerful. And these sessions that we do in the studio are only an hour, and I record those conversations through voice, but also through the visuals, through photography. So yes, we have the hero images, but there's a collection of images that tell that story, all the good, the bad, the ugly, and all the in-betweens, because that's life. That's the chaos and the journey.
And I don't want to. I'm going to ask you a little bit more about the process in a minute. But have we gone through all of your?
We've got one more.
Yeah?
We've got Beck. Who came to me. She, through Foodie Shots, I did product photography for her, and she rang me up and she says, "Oh, Kat, I was just wondering, do you know anyone who does boudoir photography?" And I said to her,
"What is it?
Boudoir.
What does that mean?"
Romantic, you know.
Boudoir,
yes, photography. And I said, well, I do, I just don't advertise it. I do it when I feel that there's a connection, and there's a story to tell. It's not just for, for sakes. So, and she said, I don't know if you know, but I'd been diagnosed recently with cancer, and I want to, before I lose my hair, I want to show people and other women that cancer can't take everything away from you. And I hadn't found my fifth woman yet, and I couldn't work it out. This was October last year, and I couldn't work out why, and now I just knew straight away that she was my fifth lady. So I said to her, Beck, I would do this for you. Would you be honoured to be my fifth lady? I haven't worked out why I couldn't find her, and this is why, because you're it. And so, yeah, she was very honoured. And what I love about it is all the serendipitous nuances of this whole journey. We started off with a cancer survivor, and now we've got Beck at the end, who's just beginning her journey. And it's just this, we're connected through our stories, and we're forever supported. So I think, and it's now because of this experience, Gay and Beck, Gay through the volunteer hospital, has now put forward Beck's name to be the ambassador for the hospital Cancer Foundation. So, which is a beautiful connection. Right?
A lovely circle that you've, a lovely thread that you've woven through the community there, Kat. Yeah.
It is beautiful, and I've seen connections where Gay had not really connected with Carmel, and we were at a social enterprise event, and Gay said to Carmel, your photo has changed my daughter's life. Her daughter was not in a good spot and just having a bit of trouble, and she told her daughter Carmel's story, and it sort of changed her whole perspective. So Carmel then realised the power of that photo. I told her that her photos were amazing, and she went, oh yeah. It wasn't until another mother said, your photos changed my daughter's trajectory, which is huge.
Talk about the goosebumps. Yeah. I understand what you mean. I'll just remind the listeners that they're on 102.7 FM, and we're in Big Little Small Talk, and today we're talking to Kat Lynn, who's a photographer at heart, and she's got this fantastic exhibition called Empowering Women, Visual Conversations, an exhibition at the Lighthouse Wright Gallery, which is on the corner of Hume and Margaret Street. Now, you talked before, Kat, about the women coming in. So how did you had the recording going, and you told them that you were going to record it while they were telling their story, and you're talking and photographing at the same time. time. I noticed that a lot of the photographs, we've got these beautiful, what would they be? Would they be 3 metres?
By 1.5 metre banners hanging from a beautiful white gallery. It's just stunning.
And a big open space with, they're all black and white, and we'll talk about that in a minute. And then you said you've got the backstories for each of them, the series of photographs, I guess, you took while you were talking. And a lot of the photos, the women have got tissues, and I would imagine you would have had a box of tissues as well. Tell me about sort of the how you sort of kept photographing while you were talking and bringing these raw emotions to the top of people's minds and moving on from when they were crying to, okay, well, let's do this now. And
they knew, because they'd already written their story, well, they've introduced themselves through their story, they were already sort of prepared for the story they were going to tell. However, it's very confronting when you get to those points in the story. And yeah, there were tissue moments. I think there was, quite a few. But it was important. They knew the importance of capturing the emotion and the rawness of it, because to get to these hero images, we had to go through to get to that, because they come out the other side. They're empowered. I've done it. So you can't just rock up to a studio and go, give me my hero image. We have to go through that journey to be able to realise our strength. And it's through the conversations, and it's things that gets me in trouble quite often is my curiosity. I want to know more. Tell me more about that. Or how did you get to that decision? Or I don't understand. Please help me understand. And so by engaging on a human level, it's not just the highlight reels. It's getting down deep and really understanding, and getting them to also think, how did that really affect them? Like surface level, we're a face and we're a mask, but when we really get down to it, how does it affect our values and the way it impacts us on our external circles and communities? So I think we just moved through it, and yes, I just had a trigger and I just kept clicking, and yes, lots of breathing. Yeah.
I wondered, it certainly sounds like a raw session for you, but particularly for them. And did the ladies ever say to you, I feel too vulnerable? At the beginning you weren't going to make it into an exhibition, did you? And so then you had to approach them later and say, do you mind if I have these 3-metre shots of you and your story out there for the world? And what was the reaction for most of the women? Did they feel very proud of that, or did they feel very vulnerable? Or
a bit of both. So because Shelley was the first of my 5, because it was Carmel that I had to sort of approach and go, hey, I'd like you to be included because you're the beginning. So realistically, because we'd already made the decision at that 5, it sort of wasn't hey, we got to the end of all the photos and went, hey, let's just do an exhibition. So it was sort of part of that conversation. There was some apprehension from one of them in particular, and they were like, oh, I don't know how I'm going to be perceived, and I don't know what that's going to do. And I said, well, this is who you are. You should not be ashamed of who you are. Those people that want to judge you, do you really want them in your life? Like, does their opinion really matter? It's like, why hide behind the falsehoods that society tells us we have to do these things? That's what women have always had to try and do, is keep pretending. Well, no. Own your stuff and stand in your strength and vulnerability, because I think it's actually very powerful to own your vulnerability and move through it. It's certainly Gay's superpower is her vulnerability. Her eyes just see you. She doesn't judge, but they see you. So, yeah, she's very powerful in that way. But, yeah.
And Kat, are you, not that you're talking about the rawness of this, but are you able to monetize this in any way? Or is it just something that you wanted to do because you wanted to, just give this to the community?
Well, as I said, initially it was a gift to these ladies. It was meant to be a private project. So it was never about money at all. It actually felt wrong to do that. However, I needed to find a way to fulfill it.
Put it on.
You know, so like, I was very grateful that the Lighthouse agreed to be the auspice, I think that's how you term it, and go for the TRC's regional arts grant. So that paid for the hire of the gallery, which was one of the big tickets that we needed to do, and the second one was how to print these big banners. So I went to a local business and I asked him for his opinion. I said, can you give me a quote on this? This is what I'm thinking. I said, I don't know how I'm going to do it. Do I get businesses to sponsor that? Like each woman, do we get someone to sponsor? And I told him my vision, and God bless him, he turned around and said, I'll just do it for you, Kat. So he's our major sponsor. Yeah, so in terms of the actual prints that you see, that's been my investment in it. And the only way that I can try and recoup that is the ladies have kindly suggested the charities that they would like to raise funds for, who they're attached to or feel drawn to, and so half the proceeds of the prints that are up on the wall go to those charities, and I'm not really fussed if I don't get back, because that's my contribution.
The arts, I don't think anyone's under the illusion that you're going to make money in the arts.
No.
But I mean, so what's going to happen with the hero shots, as you call them?
So my big plan is we could pick this all up and it could just be a roving exhibition. So I'm going to be in talks with a couple of regional councils and things like that, which would be good. This is my first exhibition. I've never thought about doing an exhibition, so this is all learning. I've got no idea. I'm just playing, and Emma from the Lighthouse has been phenomenal in terms of mentorship and that. So in debt to her. So yeah, I'd love to see it roam. Ideally, I'd love to actually be funded to go into other communities and do this all again, but be paid obviously for it, and tell the stories of the ladies, or the women in that community, because I truly believe if we can build stronger communities, and it builds our resilience, especially when times are tough, drought, fire, flood, famine, plagues. When we have strong communities, that's the communities that are united are the ones that usually come out the other side okay, if not better. So I think this is about telling our community stories, similar to the song lines and all that sort of thing, right? It's still our stories, and we don't understand the power of our stories. So the more we can share, not just the highs and the real lows, but all the in-between, I think is quite powerful. So yeah, hoping I can do that. Either way, these will come somewhere. These will be put somewhere.
So Kat, just inform the listeners if they want to come down. How long's the exhibition going for?
Till the 28th of March, and it's open Monday to Saturday 10 till 3. So yeah.
And you can come down and have a look at the photographs. Because this isn't your first project, is it? Tell me about the Soup Box project.
Oh, that was a collaboration with Toowoomba Chamber of Commerce and the Toowoomba Farmers Markets. But my idea came about because I was talking with Nat Sparrow from Base Services, and someone had broken into his cool room and taken the food and left the cool room open, and it got all spoiled, and I was so cranky. It was just before winter, and I went, I'm sorry, Nat, I'm getting on my soapbox. And he went, and I went, oh, soup box, how can we do a soup box? How can we get you more food? And how can we... And so it was just a collaboration under the Toowoomba Chamber of Commerce and the Toowoomba Farmers Markets, and it was beautiful because it was simple. It was the community could come and buy from the farmers. They could then donate whatever they felt they could to these boxes, which then went back to Base Services to feed the vulnerable. So it was just... yeah, beautiful. I think we raised over about $12,000 worth of fresh produce over the 9 weeks. So it was, amazing.
Yeah, and is that something that you think that will be recreated every year?
Yeah. So we're going to do it for 1 month each year.
So tell me a little bit about your childhood. Like, have you always been very social justice driven, or is this something that's sort of evolving as you're getting older, or what's happening here?
I think it's just people, it needs to be a win-win situation. I like to lift people, like to motivate them and see their potential. It's about shining the light on people so that they can do even better, you know.
Have you always been a photographer?
It's been part of my...
You sound like you're a part psychologist to me. Or counsellor.
No, it's been part... I'm a graphic designer by my degree, so that's always been it's been a major of my degree, so it's always been part of it, but it flipped, and photography now is my primary, and design sort of supports that. So, yeah, it's
but
just...
these projects of helping the community, do you just see more of a need, or do you sort of feel as you go along you're getting more confidence to know how to do stuff and what you want to do, and it makes you feel good, gives you the goosebumps, as you say?
It does, yeah. Like, it's... I don't know why. I just get such a... It's like it's nearly addictive to be able to help people, you know, but also not take so much from you that you are drained, right? I also get energized by it, so it's really lovely to do. It's like leaving not a legacy, but it's also showing my kids that it's good to be part of the community. You know, it's not just go and earn $1 and go and eat and live and wake up and Groundhog Day. You can make a difference. So
I love that. That's true. Now, we talked earlier about your other part of your business is called Foodie Shots. So tell me about photographing food, and how did that become a specialty? Because I have seen documentaries about the making of food shots, and how you get the spray the food so it's shiny and all of these. No.
Most of the food that I take, you should be able to eat it at the end. I don't like wasting food. It should not be wasted. Someone has grown that food. Someone has reared that beast. Someone has taken the time and effort. So no, it should still be honoured the way it should be eaten. Prefer as long as it's safe to do so.
Well, tell me about some of the things that you have to do, or some of the weird things or wonderful things that you have to do to photograph food to make it look appetizing.
No, it literally is. Water and oil is usually enough, and that's olive oil, or glycerin, which is still edible. It's, you know, maybe a toothpick here, and that's about it. You know, a bit of cardboard, but no, nothing that makes it poisonous, or, you know, I personally would not work for any of the conglomerates. I'll say, I don't want to name names, but nothing that doesn't align to the values of sustainability or family, or, you know, it has to have purpose.
Okay, so someone comes to you, say a restaurant comes and says, I want you to, because you do like the menus and catalogues and packaging and all of that, and so do you sort of check them out and you think, I think they're all right.
I do a bit of stalking. Yeah. I do a bit of stalking, yeah.
Right, that's so interesting. And do you do like chef profiles and all of that sort of thing?
I'd love to. I want to spend, that's where probably my private projects will start to go into, is just spending time in just allowing myself, you know, an hour or so just to be part of the furniture and just capture the story of the establishment, the people, the food, the everything. So yeah.
Right. And is that a real specialty, food photography? I would imagine. Yeah. Do you look back at some of your early work and think, oh,
definitely, we grow. We have to grow. No, definitely.
Yeah. So, all right. What about all things like is it better on a white background? Is it better on a white big plate, or all of those sorts of things?
It depends on the food.
Yeah.
Food has character, just like we do. Some things are shiny, some things are matte, some things are textured. It just depends. You have to look at the food and treat it individually, depending how it presents itself and talks to me. My food talks to me, which is quite interesting, because my husband actually says, he comes in because he takes female photography as well, and he goes, come in, and he's looking at the piece of food and he goes, smile, do something, come on. I'm like, leave my food alone, so yes.
So when you go to a job, like say a restaurant says, we want you to do the branding and whatever, How do you decide what food you're going to photograph? Or
Oh
do
no,
they
it's a shot
say-
list. Yeah, it's a shot list. Yeah.
What does that mean?
Oh, so the establishment has a set menu and they want that shot, or it just depends on the purpose of the shoot, what we need to shoot for that day. I don't normally choose the meals. Yeah.
And what's a no-no in foodie shots? Like, do you not photograph people putting it in their mouth, or what's against
Don't shoot food in black and white most of the time. Most of the time. Quite often you don't shoot food with light front on because it's too flat. You need to give it texture, you need to give it life, you need to see the shadows, the form and all that. So yeah, it's just...
And do you ever shoot people putting stuff in their mouth? Or
I do,
no?
but it's
a bit gross.
It does not always look good, no. Yeah.
There used to, I don't know whether you remember, but there used to be a billboard for, I think it was for cheese, and it had like a glass jar, and they were grating it on a grater for the cheese, and I used to find that so creepy because to me it looked like they were grating the glass into the bowl, and it was so. And I'd never said anything to anyone. And then I was driving with my sister, and she said, "Oh, I hate that ad. It looks like it's the glass going into the bowl." And I thought, wonder how they did the market sounding on that, because it wasn't good, whatever it was.
Yeah, and food is emotional, so it's important how we portray our food. It's
critical. And what do you think about all these people on social media photographing their food? Do you sit in a restaurant?
More of it.
Should be more of it.
Should be more of it. The more we connect with food, the more we can share the cultures of food, the more we can actually entice people to make more food. More of it.
Oh, that's so interesting, because I will unfollow anyone who's taking pictures of their food. I think, how about you eat it rather than photographing it?
I know, my husband always says, "Can I eat my food yet?" No.
Got to keep photographing it.
Yep.
Isn't that interesting? So tell me about Sonny and Kat photography then. Like, was he always a photographer?
So Sonny and Kat came about in 2016. Husband's army, and we were travelling a little bit just due to deployments and stuff, and he got a bit of the travel photography bug, and I was already doing a bit of photography anyway, and we came back and we got a couple of wedding, friends wanted weddings done, and he really enjoyed it, and so we started doing that, and I started doing more corporate branding stuff, but it was interesting with the weddings. I'd always end up in the kitchen or taking the details of the bride's shoes and the rings and that. I was very detail and food orientated, and he loved the chaos and the rat race and all that sort of thing. So I just, and then the food and that just continued to grow, and then in 2019, Foodie Shots was born. And we haven't sort of looked back.
But Sonny and Kat, you're still doing the wedding photography and any
Don't
events?
do any more weddings. We do the events. Sonny loves to do the cars and music and all that sort of thing, and I do the corporate branding and a lot of the events as well. So
right. Sounds like you're going hell for leather.
Yeah.
What about photoshopping? Do we do that or not?
Oh, I've got a blog on that, on responsible photoshopping or retouching, because it's one thing to touch up a little bit of skin here and a blemish here and just soften the lines, but to remove the lines means you've lost your character. It's who we are. Sometimes we soften the shadows and things like that so that they make you look lighter and things like that, but I don't remove really a lot of
Can you take me through the controversy with Kate and her photoshopping of the royal, her and her kids for the Mother's Day shot? What was all that about?
Oh, well, see, I actually don't keep up with the news. I don't have time. I don't listen to the news. There's so much negativity. But what I understand is that, something about the hands and the way that she's been photoshopped and all that. And I think, I don't understand why someone would Photoshop to that extent. And as I said, I haven't seen it, so you'll have to enlighten me. But it should be about being authenticity. I know that's sometimes a bit of a throw around word, but especially in corporate branding, the whole purpose of corporate branding is to connect with your client, so that you're recognizable, you build trust, and you present in a way that your customers want to work with you. If you become so photoshopped to the point of being Barbie and then I turn up, I'm already distrusting you because you've presented in a way that you don't even honour yourself, let alone, you know, how you want to present in business. So if that's how you treat yourself, how are you going to treat me as a customer? So I think it's very important that we are understanding of how we're being perceived. And on the same thing, if you don't get your branding done regularly, you're not showing up in the way that's actually honouring who you are. So I think you know, you often see some, you know, especially on LinkedIn, they're like 10 years ago, and you're like, how many years ago did you get your photo done? It's like,
well, as someone who's just recently come out of local government, I know how much cornflakes cost and why you'd recycle them and why sometimes you're looking a little bit older in real life than you were then. So is there a photograph, Kat, that you can think of that you're most proud of, that sort of no one pays any real attention to?
Probably the one that I'm quite fond of is one that I took because when I came to Toowoomba and I was trying to just connect with people, we joined the Photography Society, and Toowoomba Photography Society is the oldest in Queensland. And one of the photos that I won as the competition was of actually Adrian from Four Brothers when he was first starting out, and it was just, again, a black and white, but his profile, and it was just so storytelling, and it was where I think I started to get the bug. It was like, wow, yeah.
And that's the essence of why you do it, isn't it? It's telling the story.
It's not the fake, it's not the posing, it is the raw and beauty of who we are. Like, it's finding the essence, and that's why I love even in food, I'm really trying to get businesses, once I've created their gallery around their food or their product, because the ego goes into their food, it's their baby, it's their you know, they want to lift it and get it out in the world. And once we've done that, then I say, right, what about you? They go, oh, no, it's not about me. I said, yes it is. Your customers need to know who you are and why you do the things you do and who's behind the ret food or the product. So you are just as important. So I'm trying to bring in that corporate branding side to the foodie businesses as well. It's a little bit harder to crack.
Yeah, interesting. For you, besides photography sort of ideals, who are you sort of stimulated by artistically? Who are your sort of biggest non-photography focused artistic influences?
Probably some of the greats, which is, you know, your pop arts, Andy Warhol, Lichtenstein. You've also got Jeffrey Smart. I love his way of playing with shape and composition in art. Definitely the Impressionists. I just love the way that, you know, all the colours and brush strokes all merge together. So art plays a big part in the way that the creative eye sees photos as well, because it builds the layers of a photo. In terms of another photographer though, it's quite modern. I do like Peter Coulson. He's another black and white male-female photographer, who likes taking photos of females models. Beautiful, like just the way he just uses light to do that. Obviously Annie Leibovitz, but you know, she's just beautiful too in the rawness of hers, you know. So
you're doing other things in your life as well. You've got something going on this afternoon which is called life drawing, is that right?
Well, it's part of the exhibition, so it's just how else can I get more people to feel empowered wherever they are on their journey, and art is one of them. So we've had workshops where sound healing through singing bowls. We've had today we had Momentum Health come and do a workshop on resilience, building resilience. Tonight we've got the art drawing, because through creatively letting go of the pretense of, if I can't be perfect, I won't do any art. Well, no, it's about just letting go and just seeing and drawing and playing. When we can play, it's a matter that we just unlock so much, and it's so releasing, like it just releases everything. So because I know when I paint, I can't think about work. I can't worry about what's happened in the day. I'm just totally absorbed in my paintings, which is lovely. You know, not often you can find pockets in your life where you can just switch off.
Yeah, wow. How do people find out about all these great things that are going on? I didn't know that you had these part of this exhibition. In fact, I didn't even know that the exhibition was here until I came across it on social media. So I suppose that's all just trying to stay connected. So Kat, how would you define success as a photographer, do you think?
When it actually makes an impact on the client. So like, as I said, when Shelley, like those moments when she said, you know, I've never seen my story told, you know, you've done something worthy and left a mark. I think when you see a small business go from thinking that they're just a marketer, which is nothing wrong with it, being, you know, at the markets, but actually gaining the confidence, and their product then becomes export worthy and in our government's embassies and things like that. So the confidence that it gives to some of our businesses through the power of photography is huge, because it just, I've seen it so often where, you know, even a business that created some hamburgers, and she made the hamburger and I took the photo of it and she nearly cried. She goes, "That's my hamburger." And I said, "Yeah, it is. It's your product. It's your, you know." And so it's amazing what happens when you transcend, you know, this thing that's in front of them to the screen, which is basically 2D, but I'm seeing it in a different way and I'm lighting it in a different way and it's heroing it. So I think they're the moments that I go, yes, that's what we've done.
Great. What about your style? Has it changed very much over time?
No, I don't think so. I would say I'm clean and raw. Pretty simple.
All right. Well, what about if I finish off now with a couple of questions? How do you think your life's going to be different in 10 years' time from how it is now?
I'll be travelling the world. I'll be doing exactly what I'm doing now, telling people stories and food and connecting people through photography. But photography will be paying for my way. And my husband's way.
It's got you've got a definite plan there.
Yeah.
What about if you could choose your own name? What name would you choose?
No, it would still be Katrina. Yeah. I've never been one to want to change my name. It's like, a name's a name. It's not what makes me, you know, so.
All right. What about if I gave you the choice that you could choose any living person, 2 living people in the world, who would you choose?
To photograph?
Mm-hmm. To photograph, yes.
I think Princess Di. It was amazing to just even see her grace. And yeah, Princess Di and...
Well, she's not living. You know that, don't you? I know you don't watch the news, but...
Okay, so living... Richard Branson. I find him fascinating, his features and everything like that. I think he would be cool. And what lady? Oh, it would have to be Helen Mirren. Yeah, definitely right. Helen Mirren.
Okay, so we got one of your, if I was to ask you the 2 people who aren't living, we've got Princess Di, and who else throughout history would you have liked to have photographed?
Michael Hutchence.
Why? You're an INXS fan?
Yes, and I never got to one of his conferences. Yeah, I just loved his character. I think he was the young Mick Jagger, but a lot more handsome. Just the way he moved and everything.
Yeah, okay. Well, my next question might be along the same theme, and it is, what's the thing that has gotten you into the most trouble?
My curiosity.
And why has it got you into trouble?
Because not everyone understands why am I asking a question, so quite often people get defensive. So it takes a little bit, and I have such high energy. I'm so positive and energetic, and not everyone is ready to receive that, and I sometimes don't read that in the room and go, okay. So it's about learning to not change who I am, but just read the room and be aware if they're not ready for that and warm them up to it.
Because I always say that everyone loves talking about themselves, and so I keep sort of asking more and more questions, and I only realised when I met up with some girlfriends before Christmas, they said, "No, that's so invasive. I just don't like people trying to get inside my business." And I thought, oh dear.
Yeah, it is interesting the types of questioning you can do. I think it's about setting that safe space and not just asking, also X, Y, Z. You go, help me understand. I'm curious to understand, because then you're prefacing it that you are curious and you're not just going, so how did you do that?
And listening to the answer, I think, rather than thinking up what the next question's going to be.
And that's a skill. It really is a skill. And I noticed that when I was having the conversation with Gay, because I could relate to her so well. I saw so much of me in her, and that just kept the conversation going faster and faster. And I was like, no. Looking back and reflecting, I'm like, I really should have not engaged so much. It should have been, tell me more, dig deeper, dig deeper, dig deeper. And so that was interesting. It's really hard to help lead, not lead the conversation, but help guide the conversation to get down to the nuggets.
What about 3 words that would describe yourself?
Curiosity. I was going to say Energizer Bunny, but that's already 3. Pocket Rocket, that's already 3.
Never enough.
Driven.
Okay. Can I ask you about your children just quickly? I'm just thinking, do you photograph them, or are you a bit over it by the time you get home?
No, they're over it. Because they're both out. They're adults now. They're out of home. They unfortunately had to be our subjects at the very early stages, and they're like, no more photos. So they're very hard to get photos. Which is interesting. We hardly have any family photos, which is really ironic. Yes. But anyway.
Well, I just know the same sort of story, and you would find this talking to chefs. They spend all that time creating food for people and then get McDonald's on the way home. So I'm going to finish off now. It's just been such a joy listening to your story. But you say that you don't listen to the news and know what's going on. But do you have a favourite royal? I'm obsessed with the royals, as you probably can tell. Anything about the royals, I love it. So... You said about Princess Diana.
Yeah, I do. Well, living, I do think Kate. I think she is probably the closest we've got to holding up what is personified as being royal and with grace. I think that's probably my pick.
Yeah, like Princess Kate, yes. Yeah. Do we know what's going on with the abdominal surgery, though?
No, we don't.
Okay, no, I don't know either. All right, now I would imagine you're a bit of a fun-loving girl. What's the song that can't keep you off the dance floor?
I'm a terrible music person. So it's probably anything that is by Meatloaf. I know.
Girl after my own heart.
I know.
2 out of 3 ain't bad.
Yeah. You sing along to those. So probably, Meatloaf, or even anything Christina Aguilera. So, Power Woman. Yeah.
That might be do you have a favourite Christina Aguilera? I don't even know how to say her name.
Yeah.
Song. It's such a fitting end for your...
I'll know it when I hear it. It's just, as I said, I'm terrible at music. My husband is the music trivia. I'll know it when I hear it and all that sort of thing, but to actually remember.
You like those power ballads, and that's such a fitting tribute to your exhibition of empowering women. Yeah. So yes, I think you should be very proud of the work that you've done, and I think there's probably a whole lot of projects that are going to get the Kat Lynn treatment in future. And I know that we all don't have to have a brand, but it seems that we're kind of going that way. But I think if I want someone to heighten my brand, I reckon it's going to be you, Kat.
Oh, thank you.
Yeah, I think you can see.
It'd be my pleasure.
Well, I think you can. You're looking to the soul of someone, aren't you? And trying to depict people in their best light. Yeah. And that's a skill, I think. Yeah. So thank you for being my guest on Big Little Small Talk.
Thank you so much. It was a pleasure.
That's it for this week. Thanks for joining me on Big Little Small Talk. I hope you can make the time to join me next week. If you've enjoyed this episode, please subscribe on your favourite podcast app.